SMT Nation, We Back Nation, Comcast, XFinity Mobile, that whole dynamic that's going on that's impacting the industry. They just reported their Q2 earnings, and I was looking through some of the details, and I felt compelled to make a video dedicated for the company's earnings. I typically don't do this. What I typically do is on the podcast, I put together the Charter Spectrum and Comcast Xfinity impacts for the industry, but this is kind of interesting, and I wanted to dedicate a video for it, and I wanted to do the same thing I did with AT&T, where I dedicated video chapters for each segment of the business. So I'll go ahead and do that for you. The chapters are described and defined in the description. They're also built into the timeline of the video. So if you appreciate that, let me know by commenting and rating this video and sharing it. All right, ways to help out the SMT. Anyways, let's get to the financials. Let's discuss their content and experiences, the theme parks, all of that. We'll talk wireless and mobile and home internet as well. All right, so I'll go ahead and link the PDF webpage, whatever press release from Comcast. It'll be in the description. And also in the description is the real SMT Buy Me a Coffee link. Show your appreciation to your favorite creators. Buy us a coffee. Link in the description. There are other ways to support us too. They're all down there in the description box. And don't forget, the deflation promotional pricing at Mint Mobile appears to still be active. So take advantage of that offer. mintmobile.com/Sneed. Use our partner link. Save those ducats. Get their legendary customer care, that incredible value, and you'll be helping out the channel. All right, so here's what I'll do for you guys first, starting with financials. So the stock during intraday trading is at 8% for the good on the upside, and that's a great sign that the investor is very pleased with the performance of Comcast Xfinity. And I would say that for the most part, it's like an 80% strength report. There's not all that much negative. There is one key metric I want to discuss that is negative. In fact, it's so negative that Comcast didn't even want to talk about it. We basically got one little statement about it, and that was it. They moved on and just focused on everything else. Anyway, starting with financials. Plus 1.7% revenue growth year over year. Plus 4.2% adjusted EBITDA year over year. Plus 11.9% adjusted earnings per share year over year. Those things look good. Connectivity revenues are flat. I'll talk more about that in a moment. The business segment, up 4%, which is great, including their enterprise and business grade accounts. Residential ARPU is up 4.5%, showing that they are finding ways to become more profitable and improving margins there. The Peacock revenues are up 85%. I think that's relative to the paid version of Peacock Access. The theatrical revenues, meaning their movies, I know they had the Super Mario Brothers and some other things going on, plus 66%. Theme park revenues and EBITDA improving or increasing between 20 and 30%. Free cash flows at $3.4 billion. The dividends getting paid. Share buybacks are ongoing. Return on invested capital looks good at $3.2 billion during the quarter. CapEx coming in at $3 billion. Ad revenue in totality is down 5%. They've got some Peacock losses there, which I think impacts them in some ways. In fact, let's look at the content experiences. Peacock paid subs doubled, a good indication of future revenue growth for them, but there are revenue losses there, right? So maybe people are starting to move away from that platform. Maybe Comcast sees them as unprofitable, thus they're kind of okay with that happening. This is an incredible number here, folks. Video losses, paid TV video, minus 543,000. That is absurd. That is very high, but I think it shows you that Comcast Xfinity is quite comfortable, and the industry is quite comfortable with working through streaming. The nice thing about Comcast's business model, they have streaming, right? So not necessarily the end of the world for them. They're in play in that consumer segment. But I know that there was a statement by Comcast CEO, he said, we're not chasing unprofitable video customers. That's interesting. I'm okay with it. I don't mind the statement. I think it's perfectly reasonable to make that statement and have that approach. But this is where we get into wireless and mobile. All right, so wireless and mobile customer adds 316,000 lines on the consumer side. So continued strength and growth there. I think the business side added about 30,000. So that's a new wrinkle in the fold. So I kind of see how that's working for them. 7 consecutive quarters where Comcast XFinity Mobile has added 300,000 or more lines of service. Remember, they piggyback off of the Verizon network using their, extensive, number of hotspots, where they can offload data usage for their consumers, right? And those types of things are ongoing. But again, those customers are not profitable, which begs the question: you're not comfortable, chasing unprofitable video customers, but you are comfortable chasing unprofitable mobile or wireless customers. I will tell you guys, big cable, they may be the most hypocritical of all businesses. To show you how hypocritical they are, they didn't even want to talk about their residential broadband. They literally gave it like one statement or 2 statements on the entire earnings report. They referred to broadband subscriber base as stable or flat. So to me, this tells me that they are getting their asses kicked by fixed wireless access, and the venom that has accumulated over time, right, is really starting to manifest itself, because we see Verizon added over 400,000 subscribers in 5G home and business. T-Mobile continues to thrive, 500,000 plus every quarter in their home internet service. They can't pretend like this doesn't hurt, because residential broadband is part of their core business operations. It's how they built their foundation of their business. So I get the whole like streaming and theme parks and business connectivity. Like, I'm looking at all these things as future drivers. It says there residential broadband is part of their future growth and focus. How do you justify that? What data exists to show it as a growth area? The only thing we could point to is we could say potentially is that the revenues, the ARPU is improving, right? The margins might be improving, but the growth is non-existent. I can't even find a number for what the net adds was for residential broadband. I looked through this report. I looked through news articles. I can't freaking find it. I don't know if they're minus 10,000 or plus 10,000. I don't know if they're minus 25,000 or plus 25,000. I'm guessing because they didn't give us the number is less than 0. I think they had losses, but how am I supposed to know? Right? Maybe they added 2,000 subscribers. I have no clue, but they didn't want to talk about it, right? And that is the base of their customers, right? So profits and margins, in terms of that, they're obviously a machine, right? We have tons of free cash flow. They're generating large amounts of revenue. The broadband subs are a problem. Fixed wireless access clearly kicking their ass, T-Mobile and Verizon. Outside of residential broadband, though, they seem to be doing pretty well. There's some Peacock stuff they're probably working through. Ad revenues are down, so maybe that's not a good thing. But I think overall, with the market responding positively, looking at the shares, it's up like 8%. And I don't know if it's going to stay that way. I'm not really a market expert in that respect, but that's what it is now. It's at like 7.5%. But I think we have indications here. Verizon, T-Mobile taking their share of the gross ads, kicking their ass with respect to broadband subscribers. And that's just something that, Comcast is going to try to hedge. They're going to try to just reduce losses. And that's why you see them playing in the mobile space. But I will say that I think Charter Spectrum actually does a better job of some of these things. We'll talk about that when we get their results. But what do you guys think of these numbers? What do you think of the whole convergence aspect here? We're looking at, big cable playing in mobility. We're looking at, mobile network operators coming into broadband. It's really starting to get interesting. What's your take on this and the developments we have here currently, as we've had Verizon, AT&T report, now Comcast? We're awaiting T-Mobile after the bell today, and then it'll just be Spectrum, and then we'll see what happens. But hit me with your favorite hashtag Comcast, hashtag XFinity. Your thoughts and opinions welcome down below. You are the voice of the people, the SMT Nation. Let your voice be heard.